Hey, this is Wicked Spursy, Mike, Steve, and I can finally say it, Dave! Dave has returned!
What's up, fellas?
I have been dreaming of this day. Um,
Sorry
well, no,
about your dreams, Steve. Really, really sorry
honestly,
about
I have
those.
different dreams.
Yeah.
They don't tend to include podcasting with anybody, but for the fun of the show, I can say that I dreamed about it. I hoped. Um, But you know what? This is going to be a very special show for a number of reasons, not just because we have Dave back, but because I'm going to start at the end. I need to provide my closing thoughts while we still have everybody here to listen to them because I am pissed. And I don't want us to end on a negative note, so I figured if I start with the negative, we get that out of the way, then we can move on to the positive stuff. So my closing thoughts for today have to deal with airline etiquette. If you're out there and you're the type of person who's fucking FaceTiming somebody on an airplane, or if you're listening to your music without headphones on, just stay home. Don't travel. Nobody wants to listen to that. It is the worst thing that you could do, especially when your plane is sitting on the tarmac delayed for some maintenance thing. Nobody wants to listen to your conversation for 2 hours. And when people tell you to turn it off and put it away, that's them being nice. The next step is, of course, somebody's going to grab that phone out of your hands and smash it over your head. You do not want to be in a stressful situation like air travel and then make it worse for everybody around you. If you're that person, stay home, leave your phone home, or just quit the shit. It's that simple. I had a flight that was delayed yesterday for maintenance issues, and the guy next to me was on FaceTime with, some relative. They were speaking Mandarin, so you couldn't even engage in the conversation at all. Or at least I couldn't because I don't speak Mandarin. Second flight, same thing. Somebody just video chatting with whoever. The stewardess told them to put it away. They just dropped it down, and as soon as they were out of sight, brought it back up, starts talking. And then when I finally get back here to Vermont and everybody is waiting for the doors to open and we can all exit the plane, you got somebody blasting their Spotify without headphones on, just standing in the aisle. You are the worst people. And this goes beyond air travel too. Waiting rooms, public places, anywhere where there are other people around and you are expected to share the space, invest in some headphones. They're cheap these days. You can buy a pair for like 10-15 bucks at Best Buy. Just do
Not at
it.
the airport though. They're like $60 at the
That's true.
airport.
That's true.
Invest ahead of, well, that's
For
true.
these, for
I
these
spent
little crappy guys I have on, right? Yeah, they
dude,
get
I
you at the
spent
airport.
$45 on a beer and a chicken parm sandwich last night just because I desperately wanted a beer and
Steve,
I
can
was
I can I
hungry.
just can I piggyback on? I know it's been a
Please,
while since you
please,
let
please.
me piggyback, but like I'm with you completely on that. Airline travel. I mean, when I was a younger lad, it used to be fun and like there was something maybe slightly romantic about it even, but it's just a brutal experience in general when everything goes well. And when you add in people like you're describing it, I'm the extra layer I want to take it to is people who are just insensitive or unaware about everyone else around them, right? Like the here's an example I'll give you. About once a week I go grocery shopping. Sometimes it's at the Super Walmart, sometimes it's the Aldi Walmart combo, sometimes it's the local Shaw's or Hannaford. You guys know the routine. You get it. But it drives me crazy when the grocery's crowded and the people who are absolutely oblivious to like the size of the aisles, the width of their cart, the fact that someone else might actually be interested in getting past them, like those people that just don't care about anyone else around them are really hard to tolerate. You have to be extra graceful with those folks because you want to spout off, but I try to be a good person and not get into fisticuffs in the grocery aisle. That would not look good.
That's fair.
Which
That's
is
fair.
why I don't go to the grocery
Which is why
anymore.
that's solid strategy.
You can just send your daughter now, right?
Me, almost.
So
When she learns how to not drive into cars that are directly in front of her, parked, She has to be able.
This has happened, like
Almost.
contact?
Almost contact. She was pulling out of a space, and there was a car in front of her. And this is at the school when I was picking her up from driver's ed.
So Steve, the note there is park cautiously at the barbecue is really the key.
Oh yeah, because she'll have her license by then.
Oh, I'll park far away. We'll be good. But yes, so now that that's off my chest, I'm gonna hold off on you, Mike, because Dave's here, and I want to hear how Dave's doing. Dave, how you doing? It's been a while.
But yeah, I appreciate you. I appreciate you asking. Been a while. Been busy trying to get a few things, watering some seeds in the professional space, watering some seeds in the personal space, and I asked Mike if I could actually talk about this. So this is maybe as good time as any.
But I said, "God damn it, no! This is my podcast."
Absolutely. You said hours. You said hours a long time ago, Mike.
It is hours. It is hours.
Yeah, so I think I stopped potting regularly. I want to say it was maybe November or so. And I just wanted to like talk about, in case it's good for anyone who might be listening, of the dozens and scores of people out there that are listening. I know the numbers have gone up since my departure, which, hey, like, let's read into that data and make decisions based on that. Mike, I want you to watch carefully this week and tell me what the listenership looks like. That'll be another indicator for you. But long story short, I was finding that in addition to all the things that happen like in life, and if you flash back to like November-ish when I stopped doing the pod, we had just had a ridiculous presidential election in this country that helped drive some of my personal decisions around social media consumption. But I found that keeping up with Spurs was becoming really, really difficult for me. And the burden of wanting to be able to speak with at least more than ignorance on Spurs, required keeping up with Spurs to a certain amount. And I was finding myself unable to do that. And I was finding that the pressure of needing to kind of like be on my game so that I could be a decent host for you guys. So I wasn't just totally faking it. And you guys knew the times that I was totally faking it. But, I wanted to be better at the process than I was able to be. And so what I found actually in recent months is when I kind of took a step away from Spurs as an obligation and began to view them more as a almost, just a pastime and a diversion, it put Spurs back where they needed to be for me, which was, hey, I'm going to watch them when I can. I'm going to enjoy it when I can. I'm going to have an opinion about it when I can. But if I miss it, or if they suck, or all of the above, big deal. There'll be another one next week, or maybe on Wednesday or Thursday. And like, I found that the early part of 2025 has been much better to me in that regard, because it kind of brought my love for Spurs back that I was feeling starting to wane a little bit. And that has nothing to do with making a Europa run or being champions of Europa as we speak, and being winners, which is a lame motto. I wish they weren't putting that on all the t-shirts. It's cheesy, but that's just my opinion. But want to share with you guys and with listeners just kind of the reason for the step away. My intention moving forward, I'd love to do this every once in a while, just pop on with you guys every few months and be a special guest. That kind of is going to be my speed right about now. But I gotta say, boys, I love you both, and it's good to be back looking at you on this screen and talking about the club that we all care about.
Speaking of things that I care about, I actually do really want to know how Mike's doing. I deeply care about.
You care about me? Oh, Steve.
Yeah, I know. Hey, call me sentimental. I got the negativity off of my shoulders nice and early this time, so now I'm feeling good. I'm feeling.
You gonna float right into it? Yeah.
Float like a butterfly, and I'm sure that ends with something equally pleasant.
So yeah, Lucas had a tournament this weekend in Massachusetts. It's the annual Needham tournament, and every single year since they started playing, he started playing age 7 at the club. He's now going to be 13. So first year, because of COVID, there wasn't really anything, and then second year we decided not to go, but subsequently, each year after that, their performance has gotten better. They've made it to the semifinal as of last year. This year, they had some tough teams in their division. They played in the top division. They put themselves in the top division. which means it's a slightly more challenging division. You get slightly more challenging teams from the Northeast. Like we played one of the top teams in Connecticut today in the semifinal. Did not go well. Did not go well. But in the brackets, they played really well. The first team they played was from Connecticut as well. I'm sorry, not Connecticut, New Jersey. And you can really tell, and I'm sorry, Steve, but you can really tell when the jersey comes out in some parents.
Yeah, you can. I own it.
It's obnoxious, and it comes out in the kids too, to the point where the nice British man who is the field ref, he was a great referee, calling it real tight, right? And this kid was about probably 8 to 10 yards offside, and then threw a fit after they called offside. And the ref went and explained to him what he did. You know, the whole thing that you're supposed to do as a referee, talk to him, and then the kid like threw his hands up like in the ref's face and said something to the effect of "You're fucking crazy." The ref then got right back in his face, didn't give him a card, should have given him a card,
Absolutely.
but got right back in the kid's face and said, "I'm going to give you one opportunity to shut up." And the kid threw a fit and walked off, and that was that. And they ended up beating us 3-2. Then the second game, beautiful game. Lucas scored in both games, both the first two games. And then we played the third game. The second game we won. Third game we played. Turns out it was a 2011 team. They were playing. So you're allowed to play
What's
up.
that mean?
So my kid was born in 2012.
All right, thank you for the context.
So the bracket was like a U13.
Yep.
Right. So they should have been in a U14 bracket. You're allowed to play up a bracket, but you can't play down an age bracket. And it was apparent because they were beating the teams in our bracket pretty badly. So Lucas scored on them. He was the only one who scored against that team the entire time, which was great. They played really, really well in that game, the boys, and I was really, really proud of their effort. Unfortunately, that team got disqualified. We ended up in the semi, and it did not go well. It did not go well. They beat us 4-0. Lucas was pissed off. None of the boys were ready for the game. It was like, we're not a morning team. And I said, it's just like Spurs, you know. Don't play those early games well. So, but it was a fun time. I always have fun with the parents. We always get along. There was a lot of talk about our club, Tottenham Hotspur, and about whether Champions of Europe is a deserved moniker, and whether what they did this year was better than what some of the other teams did this year. So, and I guess that's what we can talk about tonight, probably.
Hey, that's a great segue.
Like it.
I don't drive a Segway, though.
Segways are cool. You ever done a Segway tour?
No, I fell down off one time, so I
would understand that. You're pretty unbalanced. I get it.
Yeah, definitely not limber.
But you look like
Especially
a complete tool when you're doing a Segway tour. But
oh, absolutely,
it's a lot of fun.
Felt
like Job on Arrested Development, you know, just.
Yeah. So we won. We won something.
We sure did.
Important, and it wasn't the Audi Cup.
It's a weird feeling, isn't it?
I gotta say, I was watching it at my friend's house in Baltimore, and it was surreal. It was like, you know, am I dreaming? Is this something that really happened? The only thing that convinced me that it was real was just how god awful our goal was. Just ricocheting off Luke Shaw. Like, that is the type of insane goal that we would absolutely have needed to score to win that. And I gotta say, it felt good.
It felt good. Steve, I was with Mike, and geez, Mike, what about 40 other people at Rira, and your audio.
There were a lot of Spurs fans there.
There were a lot of Spurs fans, but my son was there, Steve. You know, Nate, and as like in the lead up to that Brennan Johnson, Luke Shaw goal, I was telling Nate, like, dude, if we score, this place is gonna freaking explode. And he's like, really? I said, yeah, just watch. And that goal trickled in, and place went just bonkers. And he's like, you were right, Dad. Those are some of my favorite words. You were right, Dad. But that was a fun experience.
And not for nothing. I mean, it was I mean, it was kind of, I'm sure from a neutral perspective, boring. But for Ange Ball and for what he has done, it was tactically the right thing to do. And there were some players who I've shit talked quite a lot this season who actually did show up when it counted, which is more than I can say for other maybe more talented players that have played for Spurs in the past. It's nice to have some guys who, when it counts, they put the performance in. And we can talk about individuals. I do want to give a shout out to Richarlison in particular, just because of how little he has played, how much people are like, oh, he's got to go, he's got to get out of here. He can't stay healthy, he can't stay fit, he doesn't contribute much. And then he comes in and puts in one hell of a shift. I mean, his the one turn he had, I think it might have been in the lead up to that goal where he just absolutely smoked United. Um, Beautiful. And then knowing that he's going to be coming off around that 60-minute mark and just pushing even harder, that it was just impeccable. So I just wanted to give kudos to him for, he hasn't been around when we might have needed him more, but when it counted, he showed up, he stepped up, and he did well. He left it all on the pitch. And he's just one of those guys that I don't think gets the plaudits that he necessarily deserves, especially compared to some of the other top performers from the final.
And
Mike,
Steve, speaking of, could I just jump in?
absolutely, Dave.
Speaking of Richarlison, and I had to think about this afterwards. One thing I loved about that match was the lineup decision not to start Sonny, and it made me flash back. And that's not a critique of Sonny, but it's just, I looked at this match and then I looked at the Champions League final when, if you recall, that was back when HK10 had the glass ankles and he was coming off, a significant injury, and Lucas had done all the things that Lucas had done, but Harry had to start that final, and it was understandable, but it wasn't the right move. Right. And so in a slightly similar situation, you could have made the nostalgic pick and said, hey, it's a Europa final, Sonny gets the start, but Ange made the serious pick and brought him off the bench. And it could not have been a wiser move in my mind to take that approach, get Richarlison on the pitch and have Sonny for later and let him be on at the end of the match. It was really, really cool.
What I want to know is that I want to know what Ange said to them in the pregame. I mean, I know there's a lot of talk about the personal messages and that kind of shit that they sent, that Ange, had from the family members and stuff, played for each of the players and stuff. What did his pre-match consist of? Because these guys came out with an attitude that, there's no such thing as Spursy. There's no chance that this team can beat us. They were on their day, like they were pumped up, they were ready to go. Obviously, like they had been prioritizing this competition over any other competition since January, probably, right? Maybe February. So when you're looking at that, there's got to be two things going on. There's got to be Ange pumping him up because he's a master manipulator of mentality, right? And that is really shown through a lot of like those matches where you get a first half team and a second half team that we've seen in Ange's tenure. So I want to know what he said to this team because they came out with their hair on fire, insisting that they would not be and I'm going to tell you right now that Ange did the right thing. You're right. He did the right thing with not starting Sonny. He did the right thing, with the back four. He made all of the proper adjustments when he needed to make them. The substitution of Archie Gray and Kevin Danso, right? The taking off of players who were just gassed, just too gassed. The trusting Basuma to do the job, right? Making Basuma was basically a fucking shadow for Bruno Fernandes the entire game. Like everything that Ange did, he did well. He did properly. And at the same time, like all those players to a man weren't going to be beat. They weren't going to be beat. There wasn't one performance that was below a 7 out of 10 on the field. And I mean, and that includes Sonny, because Sonny did things like when he came on, he did things that he doesn't do. And one of those things, and we know because Hugo called him out for it a few years ago, is track back and play defense.
Yeah.
Right. Sonny was doing everything he could to stop them from scoring. The whole game was the game was piss poor. Let's not try and shine a pig here, but the game was piss poor. It wasn't a good game to watch. We were on pins and needles the entire game. Everybody in that place. Mickey Van de Ven with his flying acrobatics. Vicario with a couple of just major saves. He had one Vicario moment, but Mickey did show up to bail him out. Christian Romero was everywhere, right? Like the game for me was a piss poor game of soccer to watch, but it had all the intensity of a European Championship final, especially for a team that had like 30% possession the entire game.
So, Steve, to the question you brought up, is calling Spurs champions of Europe, or did you bring this one up, or did Mike? Is it appropriate? Do you have to designate champions of Europa? Throw the A on the end there. Like, what's the language around this?
I mean, it's a European trophy. It's not. I honestly, I still think it's a big deal. I know people want to downplay it because it's just Europa, but if it was that easy, how come nobody else is? How come so few other teams have won it, right?
Well, it's because Sevilla wins it every fucking year, every other year.
It's a difficult trophy to win, but it is a trophy. And that's something that I think our neighbors to the north, or nearby, next door, wherever they are, the ones Woolwich, they haven't quite gotten that. This is a major award, and I don't know. I don't know that you necessarily need to qualify it.
They do claim that they have a European trophy.
It is a European trophy.
Whatever Arsenal has that predated the Europa League. It's some sort of Champions of Championa trophy that they claim as a European title. But
yeah,
did you guys catch in yesterday's matches? And I know that yesterday's match didn't matter, but with the the broadcast, at least here in the States, you had the Peacock games, you had the USA games. Did you catch the Arsenal match was on the Sci-Fi channel? That's what they put it on. That's freaking fantastic, man.
That's life imitating art, or the opposite.
Whatever it was good.
It was fantastic. Mike, I do want to come back to Romero for a second. I don't know if you saw his post, his social media post, but I just want to read it to you, and I want to get your guys' thoughts on it, because he's been the subject of some speculation over the last couple of months as well. He wrote, "Winners, we achieved what we wanted this season as a group, and that's what matters. And my name is part of the history of this beautiful club, Spurs. I want to thank you all for the love and support every day, despite everything. But I have no doubt that staying together led us to success. We must continue. This is the path."
This is the way. This is the way. No, I mean, he's coming back. I know there's a lot of talk, and we can get into it later about what we have for money at the club,
More than
Um,
United.
that's for sure. I mean, we would have been in real big trouble had we not won this. But United is in trouble. You're gonna have to sell some players to pay the player that they just acquired, right? So, what I think about Romero is that I think that yeah, he's prioritized Argentina a little too much. I think we've talked about this a number of times about how he prioritizes his country over club. We've talked about how frustrating he can be with his injuries. But when he's out there, he's every bit as good as of a defender as a Virgil van Dijk or a William Saliba or a Mark Gay. He's every bit as good as any of those players. He is a world class player. We just don't get to see it because he's often injured. He's often off, for petulant yellow cards or red cards. Not so much this year, but like there's things that annoy the shit out of us about him. But when he's out there, when he's got a good partner to his side, holy shit, Christian Romero is a monster of a player. And he's one of the best in the world at what he does. It's been said by many of his compatriots in the Argentina team, Leo Messi, to name one, thinks he's the best defender in the world. And yeah, I think he deserved that man of the match. So I think he's back next year. And if he gets sold, I think it's going to be after next year. He's got 2 years left on his contract, and I think Levy's going to try and maximize that money, and maybe if he has a great season next year, then Real Madrid comes calling.
Dave, I want to ask you now about another defender of ours, Pedro Porro. He did a lot of very nice things, I thought, in that game. The set piece deliveries in particular were incredible. What did you make of his performance?
Yeah, I think first on the whole, flashback to the Ericsson days, and you remember when Ericsson was at the tail end of his career with Spurs, like his set pieces wouldn't even make it past the first defender at the front post. So first thing I'm going to say about Porro is remarkable consistency in terms of set piece delivery and at least getting the ball into play that we can potentially do something with. As I flash back on the start of the season, I remember us talking about Porro quite a bit as being kind of a linchpin that really kind of was holding things together in a lot of ways. He did dip kind of mid-season, and I think a lot of that perhaps had to do with just energy levels and being tired and being overused. But I think Pedro Porro in the Europa final was exactly what Pedro Porro always is in my mind, which is he's the type of guy you need on your team. He's the type of guy who kind of gets his nose into everything. He's you see him in the match. He's on screen a lot, and he's on screen because he's around the ball. He's making things happen. He's not afraid to rip one from 25 yards if he gets the opportunity to. And he's got that kind of psychopath smile about him. When he gets into trouble with somebody else, he just kind of gives a I'm coming for you next time sort of look. And I love Pedro Porro. I think you always need a Pedro Porro in your team. He's different from Lamela, right? Lamela was just a shithouser. Pedro Porro's not that. But there's kind of the same type of dynamic there where I think he makes people uneasy and just causes people to kind of have to pay attention to him and
The lovable serial killer.
Yeah, kind of like that. Huggable teddy bear of a lunatic, right?
I mean, it's accurate. I also did like his post match social media comments. It was something like, and they said I couldn't defend. That got a chuckle out of me. I don't know that he necessarily was the best defender out there, but he did his job. He was bright. He did what we needed to.
Hey, if it's the end of season awards, in the team cafeteria, right, and you're given the best effort award, I think you give it to Pedro Porro. I think he's the guy who just is always out there scrapping, trying to do something.
Yeah, I don't think that Pedro Porro, like, he's not out there, and he's not out there to be a defender. You know, he's out there to be an inverted wing back or inverted fullback. He's an attacker who can defend versus Destiny Udogie, who is a defender who can attack. He's not Destiny's not so great at picking out a pass, but he is good on the ball. He can dribble. But I think that's kind of the way that this back four works. They're kind of a sliding back three, really.
How important do you think it was that we were able to make a change and bring on an 18-year-old to help shore up a game of that importance? Do you think that is going to have some major ramifications going forward with, not just Archie, but some of the other young talents that is waiting to come into Spurs?
I think, I mean, you how can you argue with the impact, number one, and the growth out of guys like Bergvall this year, guys like Mikey Moore, definitely Archie Gray, who was the absolute Swiss Army knife of the team, could do whatever he was called upon to do. Like, and again, those guys are late teenagers. They've got a good 5 to 7 years of true prime growth ahead of them before they're actually in their prime. And if Spurs can figure out how to take care of them and keep them around and let them grow together, there's a nice core to build around there, no question.
Yeah, there was a guy at Dave knows the guy who was starting all the songs, the guy from Kansas City Spurs.
Yeah.
Who was behind us, who did not like the Archie Gray substitution. Said Archie Gray was shit, and that he was the reason that we were in the position we were in. And I said, yeah, he is the reason we're in the position we're in. He's the reason that we're not relegated. He's the reason and he's like, and he was bitching about how he's in midfield, and I'm like, it's because he's a midfielder.
He's a midfielder. That's exactly right.
He's a defensive midfielder. That's what he does. He's not. He's there for cover for Basuma. He just happened to be there for cover and learn how to play center back at a time where he was terribly, terribly needed. Like, this team isn't this team. It doesn't really matter, where they finished in the league and how they performed this year. If you win that big trophy, right? If you win that big Europa Cup, if you win that big even the Conference League, right? So, I mean, if you're winning that, you're moving up into the next competition, next higher competition. We have in August, on August 12th or 13th, we have a contest coming up that we're going to be playing PSG in, because they're winning the Champions League. They're the better team. And that's my prediction.
How crazy if we have a huge summer and win the Conference Club Championship? Is that what that's called?
No, the Super Cup.
The Super Cup, yeah.
Yeah, the UEFA Super Cup. Can you imagine we beat them?
That'd be sick. Absolutely.
we're not going to beat PSG, but like,
hey, stranger things have happened.
Stranger things have happened. You're right. Yeah, like Tottenham finishing 17th and winning. So that's kind of my point. Is like, it doesn't matter if you finish fucking second or if you finish 17th this season. All that shit doesn't even matter unless you have some other domestic trophy, right? It means that we're in the same competition as Arsenal, as Newcastle, as Man City, right? The only other thing that might be better, winning the league, but what the fuck does the league mean anymore, right? There's no, unless it comes down to like the last couple of games, it doesn't mean anything anymore. Like, that shit was done and dusted in February, right?
This
like,
year was, yeah.
Yeah, Arsenal had those 2 devastating injuries that destroyed their entire season. And I joke about that because Arsenal fans often said, "Oh, we had so many injuries this year, and that's why we didn't win the league." And it's a bunch of horse shit. Their entire team falls apart when Saliba goes out for 3 weeks. But the point is that whether you're in one of those top 5 teams that gets Champions League this year, it doesn't matter unless you've won the league or unless you've won one of those other cups, where Tottenham finishes. We could have finished fucking 8th. We could have finished 10th. We just happened to finish 17th. We had a shitload of injuries. We did. I don't like to make those excuses because I'm a next man up guy. But like when your next man up is a 17-year-old winger, right? And an 18-year-old midfielder coming from Sweden, an 18-year-old defensive midfielder playing center back who's only played in the championship. Like, you make do with what you got. A 34-year-old, a 34-year-old defender, and Ben Davis, Jed Spence, who's been thrown away and actually was continued to have been thrown away at the end of the season. For some reason, Ange doesn't like him, but like things happen in this game of soccer that can't happen in American sports. And that's what I think makes it so compelling, makes it so interesting, in that a team like Tottenham Hotspur can outlast everybody in a tournament, playing a different way than they play in the league. I mean, I don't know. Do you disagree, Dave?
No, I don't disagree. It's just, you make me think about a number of different things, which is, any of those teams that finished top 6, had they faced the type of injury dynamics that Spurs faced and the bad run of form that Spurs faced, would those teams have won Europa? I don't know. Would Arsenal or Liverpool have won Europa if the exact same scenarios had happened to them with the same lack of depth that we dealt with? And I think, to me, that's the most interesting thing looking forward is, okay, in Spurs, you've got a talented group of young players who now believe in themselves and know how to play together and play together to win and how to see out matches. They've proven that they can actually do that. I know we'll get to the Ange in or out conversation because that's a factor here, but like we always say this going into the summer, it's going to be a really interesting summer. If Spurs are going to survive the league and 3 other competitions beyond that next year, like there's got to be more depth to survive the inevitable things that are coming, because we can't just say, hey, when we're totally healthy, we kill it, because totally healthy never happens in the Premier League. It's just not going to be a reality. But it's exciting to think ahead about Mike's favorite season, which is ITK season, just to get to what's there's the regular season, then there's Mike's season. But like the things that could happen over the summer, knowing that there's going to be some cash on hand, and once the Ange question is decided, I think it will be really fun and exciting to look forward to.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know. There's still a lot of unknown. I know people are poking at Levy's statement. They're poking at every single social media post. I mean, hell, I was doing that for a little bit earlier. There's a lot of questions out there.
Steve, I had a question on my mind, actually. Could I throw this one to you just as the host?
Absolutely.
I was wondering, Steve. Hey, Mike, what you drinking?
Dave.
So stealthy, huh? You didn't see that coming.
So yeah, I got this. I got this beer.
What, don't you love it when he asks you that?
I do love it when he asks me that.
He forgot that he loved it when I asked him that, right?
I didn't forget, but I did see this. I did see this beer, and I thought of a couple of things. I thought, like, the truth is out there, right? The truth is out there.
I want to believe.
I want to believe. This beer is called Duchovny.
Duchovny, nice.
It's got a spaceship on it, which I think they understand what's going on here. It's a Pilsner. It's a Czech Pilsner from Medusa Brewing. I've never heard of Medusa Brewing. I got this at a what they call in Massachusetts a packy. That is short for a package store, which is the only fucking place in the state of of Massachusetts where you can buy beer. You can't go into a store and buy beer. It's fucking annoying.
Hey, what do you call a guy named Stan who works at the Packy?
What?
Packy Stan.
That's great.
Yep.
10 out of 10. No notes. That's fantastic.
Dave goes away for a few minutes and comes back with bangers, just fucking bangers.
Dad jokes are back.
Dad jokes are back. So this is Medusa Brewing. They're out of Framingham, Mass, which is actually the town I was in. So it's Duchovny Pilsner. It's a Czech Pilsner. Oh, and actually on the back, of course, it says the Pils is out there.
Steve, are you old enough to remember X-Files? Like, was that a part of your life?
Absolutely.
All right, just checking. Were you like 4 or?
Probably.
All right,
Something like
gotcha.
that.
His parents were watching it.
It was syndicated. You
True. You watched it on like USA or something during daytime reruns, right?
You know, it's getting to the point where, you know, if I put on like Pluto or something, and it comes up with like what is it, like the TV Land or
Yeah.
you know, the old school shows, it's starting to creep into the territory of shows that I remember seeing when they were first coming out in the 90s, and that doesn't make me feel great.
Understandable.
Yeah.
It's a great fucking show. So Czech Pilsners. Czech Pilsners, Bohemian, they called Bohemian style Pilsners often. They are probably one of the most influential beer styles like currently in the world. They're bringing, so Pilsners are coming off the heels. Pilsners and sours came off the heels of the big hop revolution, right? Everybody got blown away by the hops. They're sick and tired of all the fucking hops and all the bitter beers and all that shit. So now what's happening is that these breweries are shifting gears to more traditional style beers. You're seeing a lot of pilsners, a lot of Kolsch styles coming out, a lot of the German and English style beers coming out. So this beer it has always been one of the most influential beer styles out there. The Bohemians had always been known for brewing beers, and it's probably the prototype for most like American style lagers and pilsners that you see right now, or that we've seen in this country, Budweiser and Miller and all of those breweries. I don't even know if there's an American style Czech pilsner that's like really like a really hot pilsner. I'm not really sure. These beers are going to be super like bready, as they say. They're going to be malt forward, not hop forward. They're going to be a little spicy. They're going to smell almost herbal or floral, and they're going to be super super fizzy and have a nice soapy head.
Very nice. Ooh, soapy head, no biscuit.
Right.
Also,
Steve,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
They're going to use like these. Almost all pilsners have Saz hops in them. That's all I was going to say.
Very nice. Well, you take your sip. I have a couple comments for Steve. So do your calculating, Mike. Steve, 2 comments. One, I'm looking at the notes on the Brian from Rhode Island spreadsheet. First, I'm seeing multiple references to Mike creaming in his mouth. I just want to point out that that's typed multiple times on the sheet. Second thing I want to point out is Steve, this is for you and I to debate. I've averaged up Mike's verdicts since December 2nd, 2024. About 3.77 is the running average, which to me feels like grade inflation is creeping up, like we talked about. I feel like Mike's starting to trend way towards 4, according to the data that I'm looking at. Am I overreading into that, Steve, or what's your assessment with your boots on the ground and doing this every week?
You know, Dave, I think there's something to that. There was a period where Mike decided he was going to be a little bit clever and keep us in the dark. It works to a certain degree. There are times where, you know, myself and if we can get Rhode Island Brian off his ass to hop on the show, it leaves us, you know, kind of scratching our heads and questioning, where's he going with this? Is it going to be high? Is it going to be really low? He's not really giving us too much. But
could it be grade inflation, or could it be like, is it something that I'm trending toward, or could it be that I'm just choosing better beers?
Well, that was my other hypothesis, was you're picking beers that you think you might like, which it means it's more likely you're going to like them, right? Like there's the odds for better score. So maybe we need to encourage you to pick just close your eyes and grab a beer and like total blind taste.
It's getting really tough, and I'll tell you why. Because
Beer
when I
terrorists.
when I go into when I go in, you're fucking
Okay.
nothing.
Enjoy your Czech Pilsner because it's going up 25%, bucko.
That's right. That's right. So when I go into like the Georgia market, like you have all the fucking Vermont beers there, and they're all still super hoppy, and like I'm not necessarily tired of the hops. I love the hops. I still love a great IPA. I just had a sip of sunshine the other day at the restaurant, and it's still delicious. I still love a focal banger, a heady topper, but like I'm looking for something different now. I'm looking for those farmhouse sales. I'm looking for. I tried out the sours. Not a big fan of the sours. I love German and Czech style pilsners. Czech style pilsners are awesome. They're they have that spicy finish that I like. I like those. I like those rye, the rye ales. The rye lagers, the rye pilsners. So, and I am looking for beers that are different, but also that I think I might like. Or if they got a fancy label. If they got a fancy label,
Good artwork, you're sold.
yeah. Oh yeah, like this one I just had, Rhinestone Cowboy.
Yeah, I'm looking at that one. You rated that pretty well, very
Yeah.
well. That was a cream. That was a cream in your mouth example. So yeah,
Yeah,
big time.
it was a good one.
Well, what are you thinking? What's the assessment on this one, buddy?
So on this one, like, what are we going to pair this with, Dave? We're going to have sausages, right? Obviously,
Fair. All right.
food pairing of sausages. I'm thinking probably drinking this at a ball game. This beer here it's perfect example of a Czech Pilsner. Nice soapy head. Great lacing. I really just enjoy this beer. It's not going to blow your face off, and it's not going to drive you to the store to get more of Duchovny, but it may make you rethink the beer, your beer choices. Get into some lagers and some pilsners. So I would say that this beer is straight up about a 3.6.
I had you
Damn
at
it.
4. What'd you have, Steve? I didn't. See
I
yours
didn't
pop
get a
up yet.
chance to put it in there. I was distracted.
Middle of the road, man. I just a middle of the road.
Yeah. When you
I mean,
said
like
it
I
was
said,
when you said it was a perfect example of a Czech Pilsner, I thought, okay, maybe that's above the threshold. So that's why I went with 4.
I don't know.
no, like
what
I said though,
did
it's not going to drive you to the
like
store
what's
to
in there
get
now.
more of this specifically, but it may drive you to the store to get like a Pilsner or Kel or something like that.
Mike, I don't know if your descriptions of the beer are better or if Steve's descriptions of your descriptions of the beer are better. But
You see, Steve knows that I don't know how to use the Google spreadsheet,
really,
and I can't access it. Every time I go to access it, it's like you need permission to access this sheet, and then I ask Brian for permission, and then it's like, nope, motherfucker, you're not looking at this. So they're keeping their comments hidden from me.
Mike, you're just using the wrong email. You know that, right?
Could be could be the return of Techno Mike.
Mike's using his work email to try to check it. It's not working.
It's because it's the union email, and that's what it is.
That's exactly
We don't
what
let
it is.
union.
We don't allow socialists into the spreadsheet.
Wise.
No, absolutely not.
Wise. 'Cause they'll take a cut if you let them.
I'm still trying to figure out what a sass hop is.
So a Saz hop is a cold weather hop that's grown in typically grown in Bavaria. I think it's Bavaria. But
Steve,
they're
I
used
like-
Saz hops are used in almost all your Eastern European Pilsners lagers.
and that's SASZ, right?
SAAZ.
SAAZ. Yeah, I like how you did SaaS, software as a service, Steve. That was pretty solid, man. Good job.
I was so confused. This is why Brian's supposed to be in charge of the notes, but he just decided he hates me, I guess.
I don't think he does hate you. I think he Brian legitimately like doesn't pay attention to his wife. when she says things. So when he says,
that works out well.
I can definitely make it, and then like last minute, he says, "Oh, yeah." So my wife says that my mom and my dad or my mom is coming over, and we're gonna have a family meal together, and we have to do this. And I could tell you that his wife overrules him on everything. So if she has a different opinion, that's her opinion. But it's the rule of the land in Brian from Rhode Island land.
Hey, it works.
Happy wife, happy life, they say.
This is true. This is true. Mike, you still do player on these? It looks like
What's that?
You do player comparisons on these, right?
Yeah, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do
You did the sausage.
I did the food pairing tonight, and player. I don't want to I don't want to take anybody down, and I don't want to build anybody up too much. Like today, like I'm still too happy. I'm riding this wave, and until somebody tells me to not ride this wave, I'm going to continue to ride this wave.
Ben Davis.
I think I've used Ben Davis, haven't I? You want to say Ben Davis? 3.7? 3.6, sorry.
I think he's a good 3.6 indicator.
Okay. We'll say Ben Davis then. So it shall be written, so it shall be done.
Big Daddy.
You got it in there, Steve? Did I cream in my mouth again?
No, you got this one from someone's package.
Yes, you did. Someone's package. Speaking of Big Daddy, is he coming back, or you think he surprisingly walks this summer?
Part of me says that he'd be great in fucking MLS. I think he would. He would do wonders for a number of teams in the MLS. I think he would actually probably play really well in a system like Caleb Porter runs at New England. At the same time, I think he would probably do really well in Montreal. I think that like his time at Tottenham might be over, but at the same time, I know he's trying to get coaching badges, right? He's trying to still do that.
I believe he is, yeah. Yeah,
so like, I don't know. Does he want to continue his career? Does he want to come to the States? Does he want to come to Canada? Continue his career? What does he want to do? I mean, he's out of contract, right? Do Spurs bring him back in another 1 year? Is he going to be an ambassador like Ledley? Nobody's going to be like Ledley as an ambassador, but you know what I mean. But what's he going to do?
I think he takes role. That's exactly what I was going to say. He takes a Ryan Mason type of role and just bides his time till he gets
So he'll become interim manager like 4 different times.
Yeah, exactly. And don't you think Sonny could become a Ledley King style ambassador?
I think he can. I also here's our ITK coming in. There is ITK that Sonny's gone this year, right? After this season. That he needs to be sold.
And you think Sonny retires or plays somewhere else?
I think Sonny I think they need to build him a statue right now. Because he did what Harry Kane didn't have the courage to do.
Ooh, shots fired.
Which was stick around.
I like it, yeah.
He didn't have the courage to do it. And I think Harry Kane is probably he's probably sitting there in Germany right now with his little pitchfork and hay bale trophy.
I won the Bundesliga.
That's right. And they were gonna fucking win it without you, dude. Because that's what Bayern does.
Do you think Mrs. Harry Kane is just super disappointed? Like, Harry, you idiot. I told you.
I don't think so. I think they made their decision based on what is best for them going forward as far as winning trophies. He was all about the glory, right? He's a glory hunter, and he went and found the easiest spot to find that glory. He didn't have the speed to play in Italy. He like like Lewandowski used to score fucking 40 goals a season in Bundesliga, right?
Mhm.
Like it's an easy place for a striker to go who has at least a little bit of passing ability to go and score a bunch of goals. And Harry Kane scoring 30 goals a season over there, right? At like 34 years old. But he didn't have the courage to do what Sonny did, which was stick around and stick it out. And Sonny has given his all to this club. And I honestly believe that if Sonny goes, or if Sonny wants to go and challenge himself somewhere else, then he deserves to go. I don't think Levy sells him at all because he's a fucking he prints money, right? He delivers that Asian market. And that's not to say Levy's being racist about this, but like um there is that element that's there. But I just think that like Sonny, if he wants to go, should be able to go and have a different challenge if that's what he wants.
Wait a minute. Are Spurs on another Asian tour this summer?
Yeah. Yeah.
Sonny ain't leaving before that's over.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. But Sonny is coming to the United States because
some
the
point.
Korean national team is playing the U.S. men's national team at Red Bull Arena, which I hope to get tickets to.
Very nice.
Very nice indeed. You know, we had another game we played in the week. Does anybody want to talk about that? No.
Nope.
What are you talking about, Steve? The season ended last Wednesday.
As far as I'm concerned, it did. It did.
So Ange back or no? What do we think?
I've been flip flopping on this so many times.
Fucking John Kerry.
On the one hand, 17th just isn't good enough. But we also got a trophy doing something unprecedented. I worry that keeping him is essentially doing what United did with Ten Hag, and he'll be sacked in October anyway. And,
So give him till October.
Yeah, but then we don't have as many potential replacements. I think
Marco Silva will be out there.
I'm going to say this.
He wants to come to Tottenham.
I'm going to say this. If Ange stays for a third season, I think you have to give him until at least January. You give him the summer transfer window, you give him the first half of the season to make something happen. If we're still in competitions by the time January comes around and our league position still looks like shit, if there's no other excuse, get rid of him then, bring somebody else on, and use January to fuel that manager. If you're going to sack him, do it now and get it over with. But this can't be something that, we're going into July wondering, is he staying or is he going? A decision needs to be made. It needs to be made soon. And you need to stick with that decision. It's the same thing that I said back in January. If you're going to stick with him, stick with him. If you're not going to stick with him, do it early and give somebody else the reins. But, it's a tricky situation. I get that. The optics of getting rid of the first guy in 17 years to bring you a meaningful trophy probably doesn't play well with Levy, especially if the predecessor gets booted from every competition, right? But 17th is also unacceptable. There needs to be some accountability there, and who knows, maybe Ange goes into a meeting with Levy and says, you know what, that wasn't acceptable. That's on me. I made a decision to focus on Europa, and the league suffered, but this is what I need to make it better. I think that's the conversation that Ange needs to have to keep his job. Be accountable for the league position. Let him know what you've accomplished, and ask or borderline demand the first team resources to make plays on all fronts of every competition.
I think Ange is totally in the driver's seat right now, right? Like no matter what happens.
I mean, Levy's fucked either way.
Yeah, it's true. And I mean, so if he gets sacked, okay, you just sacked the guy that just brought you your first title in 17 years and your first European title in 41 years, right? Um, that's good for Postecoglou. That parlays to his next job if he wants to have a next job. As I look back, as I try to look at Levy's behavior a little bit historically, when he sacked Poch, he'd had his lust set on Mourinho and was working behind the scenes that whole process, and it was a quick hire. Same thing when Mourinho was gone in Conte. If I remember right, it wasn't as quick, but it was pretty quick. The Conte departure took him by surprise. You remember, we all remember that. Like Conte freaking melted down and lost his mind, and there was no option but to fire him, and that's kind of how things played out. So to me, like I haven't heard the rumors of Levy having like a giant love affair with someone in particular that he may be negotiating with behind the scenes. And for me, I was leaning towards like, yeah, I think he's probably going to let him go and just kind of, sever ties and move on because 17th isn't good enough. I was listening to Golden Guest last week on Thursday, kind of the post-match analysis, and they kind of said it simply and I thought appropriately, which is like, who are you going to bring in that's going to bring in a better resume than having just won the Europa League title with a team that was only able to finish 17th in the league, and that just kind of made me think like, yeah, he's not going anywhere. And I like, Steve, your approach of give him till January.
Is Glasner, is he an option? Is Silva an option? I know Silva's not like,
but is he in love with him? That's what it comes down to with Levy.
Yeah, he's definitely, yeah.
Who's he in love with?
Yeah.
And if they invest this summer and they give Ange the players that he needs, probably you don't have any issues in the fall, right? But if they keep him around and they don't invest and he's got to march the same squad out there in the fall, I think we could probably expect similar outcomes. And when it doesn't go well, it ain't his fault. You know what I mean? Like he's working with well, I can't say it's not his fault. Like we can talk about the tactics. That's legitimate. But I don't know. I think he's in the driver's seat, and Levy has to just make a call and do it sooner rather than later. Don't be the Pittsburgh Steelers and Aaron Rodgers with this thing, like just dragging it out for months and months to see what happens.
Thankfully, Ange isn't taking any trips on ayahuasca or anything like that.
that we know of.
That we know of. But for me, in the end, it like Ange showed that through this Europa League run, he doesn't play the same in Europe that he did in the league. And as much as like I bitch about his tactical inflexibility, he showed that he could be tactically flexible. Mm-hmm. And if you have those back five, if you want to throw Jed Spence in there, 6 guys. You have Danso, who's he is a step down from, say, Christian Romero, but he's like not a giant step down, but he's a big step down. A giant step down would be somebody like Dragushian, but like you have guys there that can provide cover. And Dragushian, it would work well in a back four that function the way they did in Europe, I think. If needed to be called upon. But I think if Ange doesn't have his heart set on playing that one certain way, and he can be tactically flexible, he can succeed in this league. Again, because they like tried to this weekend tried to play Ange ball, with guys who are still hung over after fucking 3.5 days of partying. Right. So, I didn't expect a winner or anything coming out of that Brighton match, but I think the real winners are the guys who made it through this season. The Brennan Johnsons, the Sons, like the Dominic Solankis, like those guys who made it through the season. And the real winners are the guys who performed and helped get us through this European run. And Dane Scarlett's one of those guys. We have we have a good future coming along. So I don't think that, and we just signed Johnny Cardoso, so he's coming. He's coming. So we have coverage in the midfield now too. A guy who's going to put in a hard fucking tackle, and he's going to let you know when he does it. You know, he's not going to be that creative guy that we all want out there. But he is a guy. He's a no nonsense motherfucker, and he's not going to take any shit. He's a big lump of a man. What's that?
We need more of those guys.
Yeah, we need guys who are enforcers out there, as much as we need a shithouser, you know, or a psychopath, or a lovable loser, or you know, or a big redheaded Swede, you know. Like, we need everybody to contribute, and everybody needs to be bought into whatever system we're playing. And I think that Ange stays. I honestly thought he was already gone, you know, no matter what. But I think that, like you said, Levy finds himself in a sticky wicket, right? And he's just like, damned if you do, damned if you don't. So I think Spurs have an opportunity, but you know, Ange can't have his heart set on playing this wide open Ange ball that we played for 10 games and before we got figured out. And it's really something, because I saw my son's team doing this today. It's the same way. They played the same way. And when they play that way, and the game is great when they play a certain way, when they're quick, right? So they play out of the back. They play total football like they do. These kids, we have two center backs basically, you know, on our team, and that's all they do. And then the fullbacks push up and they invert, and it's crazy. It looks just like Ange ball when it's working, but when they're playing slow and they're not being decisive with their passes, the Ange ball doesn't work. Ange ball has to be fast. It has to move quickly. It has to keep, make sure that guys are they're off their game. It can't be predictable, which is what it has turned into.
Very true.
And that's that, Stephen.
That's all I have to say about that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all we have to say about that, because we have hit time. So I've already shared my final thoughts. Dave, would you like to share your final thoughts?
Yes. 5 words. Campeones, campeones, ole, ole, ole.
Ooh.
Fantastic. Mike, can you do better than that? It's a rhetorical question. You can't, but I still want to hear your final thoughts.
My final thoughts are these, Steve. The Vermont Green are going to win the league this year. The league. Not the division. They're going to win the division, but they're going to win the league.
Yeah, I mean, undefeated so far.
Well, 2-0. But
we won the Maple Cup too.
We won the Maple Cup. We won the Maple Cup. Thus stating for the world to hear that it's better than yours. It's better than yours. Our maple syrup, it's better than yours. Take that, Canada.
And hey, they've got a game tomorrow night against Rhode Island Bryan FC.
It is not Rhode Island FC. It is.
That's not what I said. I said Rhode Island Bryan FC. It's Providence.
Oh yes, Providence FC. Yes. It'll be a fucking fun game.
Yeah.
Bring your kids out. Bring your kids out. There's going to be good beer options. There's going to be good food options.
No,
What's
kids
that?
can have the ice cream.
Kids can have the ice cream. There's going to be Ben and Jerry's is going to be there handing out free ice cream. Plink Hydration will be out there. Vivid Coffee will be out there. It's going to be a great time. I'll be out there with my stupid megaphone. See if I can lose my voice, yelling at people younger than me, kicking a fucking ball around. It'll be a great time.
I'm going to be yelling, Brian.
And I'll tell you what, Providence will have really cool kits, guaranteed. They always do.
Well, with that, and you know what? I don't even have to say it this time. We've got the original closer to bring us out of here.
Yeah, okay. I got to make sure I get this right. So as we wrap up, Steve, what would you say to our friends and listeners as we go out the door tonight?
Fantastic. Coys, 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 coys.
And
don't be an asshole.
very well put, Michael. It's been a while since I could ask this, but how about over to you? What kind of advice do you have for our friends?
You know, guys, it's it is getting into spring. It isn't getting into springtime. I know it's almost
ticks
June.
Are coming out.
It's almost June. The ticks are out.
Pollen levels are really high.
They really are. I sneezed like 3 times mowing the lawn today. Now, I just want everybody to go out there. And Davey, I don't know if you know this. I have a new sign off, but I do tell people go out there and be safe. But also make sure you go out there and protect your mental health.
I like that. And Tottenham Hotspur action, it's still to be seen if it's Ange-tastic. Yes?
Well, Tottenham Hotspur action. It was Ange-tastic.